We're back.
We're back.
So we're talking about Super Cat.
I feel like if we did this again, when we do this again, it's just going to go so much smoother.
There's a lot behind the scenes, and there's a lot of drama.
I mean, it's crazy how much we filmed and how much we didn't use.
We would have saved a bunch of money if we did that. We would have saved a bunch of time, headache.
So one of the biggest mistakes that was kind of looming throughout the entire thing was that we did not use contracts.
There was a couple of times where I would hit a button on the side of it and the camera would just be straight up, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Easier and better. I just keep saying those two words, but that's the aim, right? That's the goal.
If you're good at using a camera and making content, that's where we're kind of looking to get somebody in.
Good morning and welcome to the Table Scraps podcast.
On today's episode, we're talking about Super Cat and everything that went into it.
And there was a lot that went into it, and that's why it's been so long since we published one of these, so we're happy to be back.
We hope you enjoy.
Okay, so we're back.
We're back.
After many months.
2 months off.
Yep, this feels strange. It feels new again, but
yeah, kind of nice.
Yeah, happy to be back here. Well, I mean, I'm here every day, but happy to be back here at this table doing this thing
for our audience.
In particular. Yeah. Sorry we were gone for so long, but we had a very massive project that we were working on, which we'll be getting into today, but it was a lot, as any one of us could attest to, especially Brad.
Yep, a lot of hours. Glad that it's done, and I'm very happy with how it came out. And I think the response has been pretty good from everybody. So,
yeah, I agree.
It's awesome,
and it feels good to be done. Feels good to get the rest of our lives back, like work, personal, whatever it is. Even in the last, when did the last episode? So we're talking about Super Cat. It was a 4-episode series, and the last episode published last week, Wednesday. So even in the last week, like you guys went on vacation. Yep. I was working on other projects, but also kind of just taking my time with things. It was just we were working in a pressure cooker for a long time, so it feels good.
And there's kind of two groups of people that follow Scrapyard, and it's fans of racing and boating, and then like our friends and family that don't really know a lot about boating or filmmaking or whatnot. So we're going to kind of give you guys an idea of both what it was like to make this and what it's like to be in that boating world for a year now, like the racing world.
Yeah. And before we get into that, how was your vacation?
Oh, it was great.
Very
needed
enjoyable.
It so bad.
You guys went to Winter Park, right?
Yeah. Yep. So for anybody that doesn't know, I'm kind of obsessed with snowboarding. So is my brother and Bobby. We're trying to get him obsessed.
I'm not obsessed. I bought all the stuff and I've done it a few times.
And
I enjoy it.
Katie's obsessed.
I am not obsessed.
Well, they go with me anyway.
But I do like going to the mountain and seeing the mountain and drinking the espresso martinis and hot chocolate. And
yeah, Katie
going
got
in the
a
hot
new
tub.
nickname on this trip.
Espresso martini?
Katini.
Katini?
Because I had a whole 3 martinis
Yeah, okay,
on
so
the trip.
that's your identity now? What's my nickname then? Just straight whiskey?
Whiskey Bob.
I did enjoy the skiing. Good. We had fun.
We skied for 2 days with Brian and Jordan, and then the girls just did their thing for the third day, and we went skiing with some of our friends that live out there. So we had a 6-pack. It was nice. Got some fresh lines that weren't open until that day for the first time on the season, so we were shredding up some powder. Did you have any FOMO?
No, maybe a little bit. Yeah, but I found my own way to occupy myself. I just was happy to be home. I mean, We've been home for a while, but now it feels like back to normal home, like having more time to get back into my hobbies and things like that. So it's been...
Yeah, it feels good to not wake up and know that I'm going to sit at my desk until I go to bed.
I agree. That is nice.
So yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever, like a decent time to stop working. And I didn't have anything pressing, and I stopped, and I just didn't know what to do.
That is true. He did not know what to do with himself.
I just started bugging Katie.
Yeah. And then I was like, don't you have something to work on?
That's what you wanted. You wanted him to be less busy. He's less busy. Now
she's
you're
like,
like, okay, this is kind of
That was
annoying.
enough.
I think we need another project.
Yeah, actually, I think that's exactly what I said. It's like,
Yeah.
do you think you could go get another project?
Yep. So yesterday I started working on the next one.
Nice. Fresh, though. New.
Yeah. God, we had so many learning things, so many mistakes in this whole process that I feel like if we did this again, when we do this again, it's just going to go so much smoother. Mm-hmm. So much smoother.
I mean, think of it that the way that we did it, it can only get easier from there. We did it quite a bit to try to make it easier, but the stuff we didn't know what we were walking into.
I mean, we did our due diligence when it came to the story piece of this, but so many other elements just got missed or we screwed them up or whatever it was. But this was our first time doing something like this.
Yeah, it was quite the undertaking.
I think the longest video that we've made up to this point was the MCON Class 1 boat being born, and it was 30 minutes? 35
Yeah, about
minutes,
that.
something like that. Mm-hmm. So,
But that's the entirety of a story in 35 minutes.
Right.
This is
2.5 hours plus.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe the episodes are 35 or almost 40, I guess the last one was over 40.
48.
Yeah, so all of them combined, though, that's the beginning to the end. So doing something like a multi-episode series that was a progression of a story was a lot.
Yeah.
It was challenging. It was fun, though.
Yeah, what did you think overall?
Overall, it was a good experience. The keyword is experience. Picked up a lot along the way. It was tough at times, tough a lot of the time, but in a good way. Like one of those things where you're facing a challenge, you don't really have an option to not get it done, to not do it. So you just figure it out. Mm-hmm. Kind of provides faith for yourself in yourself after the fact to be like, okay, like if I got put in that situation again, we would make it to the end. So yeah, overall,
Yeah.
two
What did you
thumbs
think,
up.
Katie?
Well, I think I'm officially a boat racing fan.
Nice.
So I got that out of it. I also think that I'm no longer a boat racing dummy. So I kind of know some stuff
You probably
now.
know more than most. at
Yeah,
this point.
actually, when we were in Key West and I was filming the race and everyone around me was like, what is happening? What does this mean? And I'm like, oh, this is what this means. This is who that is. And I was like, oh, I know some answers. So everyone thought I was a boat enthusiast.
Yeah, you're a race enthusiast.
Yeah, race
And a
enthusiast.
micro trailer enthusiast.
That too.
It's kind of funny thinking back to like going to the boat races when I was a kid in Detroit or St. Clair and just having absolutely no clue or not even really caring to know. I was just there to hear the boats whiz past, but there's a lot that goes into it and there's a lot behind the scenes and there's a lot of drama and there's things that are worth filming for sure, which I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Because you learn about all that. And it was, I don't want to say that I was skeptical because I was excited to do it either way, but I don't think I thought it was going to be quite like it was from that point of view, from the drama point of view. I didn't think it would be as interesting as it was. And it's probably like most things, you just learn who the people are and what they have at stake. And then all of a sudden you're invested.
Yeah, I think when you focus on people instead of boats or whatever, it's just there's always something there. And these are some very interesting people. Like not many people can afford to do this type of thing. And not to say that people with a lot of money are the only interesting ones, but typically they got a lot going on and it's pretty interesting when you dig into it.
Yeah, you want to know how they got to the point that they're at. How did they make their money? What's their career, their day-to-day life like? And then they do cool stuff sometimes with that money. So
Yeah, what drives them to do this for really not much of a reward?
yeah,
Other than winning, which is a lot. That's a big deal. There's not a whole lot else in it.
yeah. And there's no monetary reward. That's for sure.
They're working on that, but not right now.
No, and so it's more of just like a passion, I guess, for a hobby.
Yeah.
So much so that you'd put a pretty significant amount of money into it.
Yeah, and when we were doing an interview with Rick Lindsay, he said like grassroots and how these guys don't do it for the money and how that was what got him into the sport. I thought that was a different take that I'd never thought of. like thinking of these people like, wow, their passion is so heavy into boat racing because they just want to do it and they don't care what comes of it. I'm like, wow, never thought of that.
It's kind of like
cool.
The Ryder Cup, like how they're getting paid to do that now. And that was kind of a whole thing where a lot of the players are pushing back on it, just being like, this is a prideful event. Like, we just like to come here and do this for the fans, and it's
They're
fun.
getting paid?
Yeah, they're getting, so they're, I think it's 300 grand is going to a charity. So like that's not going to them, but I think they get like $200,000 stipend or something, or it might be the other way around.
Oh.
But they're getting money. It's not like a ton, like they're not getting millions, but it was like more about the principle of it. And so like that principle to me is comparable to Super Cat, where it's like they're not getting paid, and there's something to say about that. Like people were kind of upset that they were even talking about getting paid.
Yeah, I don't like that they're getting paid for the Ryder Cup. I feel like that's a cop out. You don't get paid to go to the Olympics.
Right. That was the comparison as well. So it's bred out of passion.
Yeah.
And they don't need
No,
the
those
money.
guys are so rich.
Wait, who's the Ryder Cup for?
It's golf.
Golf. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's the US.
I didn't know what sport
it's
we're
fair.
talking about.
It's fair. We talked about this. You're the audience sometimes, but like, what the hell are you talking
Keep
about?
us in check.
I
Yeah.
was thinking
Yeah.
dirt
Ryder
bikes
kites.
or something.
I feel like most boaters are not golfers, so
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it is the US versus
Europe.
Europe. Is it all of Europe?
Yeah.
I thought it was Britain.
No, it's Europe.
Okay. And it's just a like a team play. So
Gotcha.
they have captains, and then it's just best score by the end of the weekend. It's pretty cool.
And it's only every 2 years.
Okay.
It's fun, and I would agree part of that fun is almost like knowing they're not getting paid, so you know they're just happy to be there.
But they are getting paid.
But they are now.
Oh, okay.
But it's a stipend, so they can stay in a really nice place and eat really nice food for the weekend. I
That's
don't
a
really.
big stipend.
200 grand. Yeah. Can you go to the Rolex store on your way out?
Yeah,
if
does
you
that
have
count?
anything left? Yeah. Anyway, back to boats.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and we got some stuff that we want to share with everybody on the project. And I'm going to start this out with some kind of interesting facts.
Yeah, some stats.
Yeah, some stats.
This isn't an attempt to try to help encompass the amount of time and the amount of effort that we spent on this entire project, which came out to be quite a bit. So what do you got?
All right, so data-wise, 14.4 terabytes of data, which I tried to figure out how many hours of footage that was.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really do that in Premiere, so you have to estimate it based on the data and the frame rate. So it's about 90 hours of footage.
90 hours.
Yep.
So over 3 days, almost 4 days.
And I could be off on that, but I am not off on 14 terabytes of data.
I liked Bobby's conversion yesterday about the gigabytes,
to gigabytes?
and
Yeah.
the iPods.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Break down
what do we-
14 terabytes.
Yeah.
What did we
Figure
say?
out.
We said 14 terabytes was like, or it's like 14.5. So it's
Yeah.
14,500 gigabytes. And just think about like the MP3 players that we all used to have as kids. Well, depending on how old you are listening to this, maybe it was that was after or before your time, but it's a significant amount of what used to be a lot of hardware to store that. I mean, you think about the USB drives; those used to be like 2 gigabytes, and you'd put like your homework on there and stuff like that.
I remember the 256 megabyte ones.
Yeah, so that would be like 60,000 of those.
You put your homework on a hard drive?
And a little drive. You got to turn it in sometimes.
Never experienced that. But
Sorry, I mean to blow your mind. with that.
Katie's like, we had the internet.
Yeah, we submitted via a portal. Like, yeah, most of the time, yes. But sometimes I did have to put some stuff on little flash drives. But yeah, one, technology has come a huge way. Two,
Yeah.
that's a shit ton of data for
a lot of flash
video.
drives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That'd be
90
a-
hours of video is insane. That's, I mean, what would be a normal 20-minute project? We would have maybe 8
3
hours.
hours? 4? Oh,
Am I overshooting? Okay.
I don't know. Call it 5 to 10.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a lot.
So
Yeah.
that'd be like 7,000 flash drives.
7,000 2 gigabyte flash drives.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
if we just had a drawer of 7,000.
You have to plug them all in at
Yeah.
once.
Luckily, that is not the case for us, but it still, honestly, it did significantly impact what we do store our stuff on. It was tough to edit.
It was tough to open the project file.
Yeah,
once it was open, it was good.
But you just
Even
didn't
then,
close
dude.
it.
Yeah, I would leave it open for days at a time.
which is I'm sure is not healthy, but necessary. But yeah, it's so much data that no matter what system you have, it's going to be clunky. It's going to be hard to sift around in that. I mean, even if I left it open, I would still, it doesn't perform like a smaller project. It's just it's pulling so much.
Yeah, it was tough.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else you got?
I got interviews. How many interviews do you think that? Well, I guess you're looking at it.
I got a good guess.
Guess how many?
84.
All right,
Wow.
84
Nailed it.
interviews. Yep, and that was spread across 4 site visits. So 24 days filming, and that was like, if we estimated that on like an 8-hour day, that's 576 hours of filming between the 3 of us. Mm-hmm. So I guess if we're filming for 576 hours, we only had the camera on for 90.
Wow. What were we doing the rest of the time?
Running around.
I call that efficiency.
Yeah.
We were just only getting the good stuff.
Yeah. 750 hours in editing. And it was about 187 hours per episode to edit.
So you have here 31 full days or 94 working days. What do you mean by that?
So 750 hours equals 31 days.
Oh, like 24 hours.
Yeah, but then if you break it down by 8-hour work days, it would take 94 working days.
So 3 months straight.
Yeah.
And that's based on an 8-hour workday?
Well, not really 3 months straight. That would be if you worked 7 days a week.
Yeah,
Which you
okay,
did.
fair enough.
But if it's just like a normal job or whatever, it would take one person probably 5 months to edit this.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And how long, I mean, I guess it was spread out, but how long did you do it in?
So the first 2 episodes were different than the last 2 because we had to edit the last 2 episodes after we got back from Key West. So it was 2 episodes, so that would be 360 hours in 1 month.
And you were working, so yeah, just put those hours
Yeah.
into 30 days.
Yeah, it's like 13 hours a day.
And that's on average.
Yeah,
There would be
and there was
where you
days that
made-
I couldn't.
Yeah, so then there's days that you had to make those hours up. Yeah.
When I was working on it, it was around 15 hours a day, like when I was sitting down working on it.
Yeah, and nearly every day.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by wake up, sit down, get up, go to bed. That's pretty, or eat. Well, you had to eat.
Yeah, you ate lunch
Thank you
and
for
dinner.
cooking everything.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Keeping him sustained.
Yeah.
If it was up to him, you could have just like put some oil in it, like if he was a robot.
Definitely.
Plug his battery in.
There
You
was
just
a
keep
couple of
going.
times where I was like, all right, you have to come eat.
Yeah. You hit the gym every now and then too,
Yeah.
just to keep you sane, I
Yeah,
feel.
to break it up.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
just the one time of the day you had to.
Yeah. If the gym wasn't in the basement, that wouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. The last thing I got on here for stats, something that people probably don't think about, is the amount of time that goes into pre-production. We spent 85 hours doing this kind of stuff where we're laying out everything, writing interview questions, just preparing to go to a shoot. And I mean, that's a pretty significant amount of time, 85 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Probably could have been more,
Mm-hmm.
Probably could have planned more out, but I thought we did a pretty good job with that.
With the last 2 episodes, I feel like we were kind of just slotting in pre-production when we could. So like maybe we spent more time on the first 2, but then the next 2 we were like fitting it in between leaving to go film or editing. It didn't have like its own specific time set before entering into like actually filming for that episode.
Right.
So it's kind of just squeezing it in where we could. So I think we definitely could have spent more time on it if we had more time, though. That's the thing.
I feel like if you guys didn't do so much pre-production, the amount of time we shot filming would have been a lot more. Like we did 90 hours of 576 hours of filming, right? But we did that because of the pre-production, because we knew what we were looking to shoot.
It definitely got better. Like when we went to Key West, we knew exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
Which was wild because we didn't really know what was going to happen at Key West.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That was where the extra time came into editing, because it was like there'd be one post-it note and it would just be like Saturday, And it's like, okay, like whatever happens on Saturday, then we got to figure that out on the back end. So
Well, you guys had a decent amount of points that you were aiming to film. And I think that is probably an important thing for other filmmakers to learn from, maybe.
yeah. That's fair. That we had as much as we possibly could that we could know about. And of course, like part of us trying to do this like before it happens was there were certain things we just couldn't know. But
For sure. Yeah, can't predict everything.
Yeah, everything that we could though definitely was outlined. I'm just looking at the post-it notes now. But yeah, there's examples and
That's all stuff
all
that
of these
didn't even get
chapters.
used.
yeah, that's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's crazy how much we filmed and how much we didn't use. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, what would it? 90 hours or something like that? Yeah. I mean, it only ended up being 2.5.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it into perspective. Is
Yeah.
how much actually made it into the video.
And I hope that the teams understand that. Like, yeah, we filmed you guys a lot, but we can't use all of it. We're not going to make a 90-hour thing, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely
2.5 hours is way longer than we said that we were going to do in the beginning. These are supposed to be 30-minute episodes. The shortest one was 35. So we tried to get as much in there as we could.
Yeah, we used what we could when it made sense. Because part of this is also keeping it entertaining and telling a story.
Yeah, and so far on the metrics, there's a curve that shows when people drop off throughout the video, and it's always 50 to, call it 80% drop off after 1 minute on a YouTube video. It's pretty standard for any YouTube video. But then when you watch the curve the rest of the way through, that's where all the information comes from. So if people are dropping off after like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you know that, you're boring.
There was a dip
them.
in the story, yeah.
But it stayed pretty consistent between 30 and 35% all the way to the end of the video.
That's a really good metric.
That's what we look for.
Those were all good stats.
I wonder if anybody listening wants any other stats, curious about anything, drop a comment and I'll respond in there with whatever it is.
Yeah, we got it all. And we got nothing but time now.
We're going on another vacation, so
Yeah.
direct all your questions to Bobby.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Leave Brad alone.
No, okay, I don't want to say we have plenty of time. We're obviously always busy with stuff, but comparatively, we got our lives back, which is refreshing.
It is nice.
It was like we went through something. Collectively, we all did, but like you went through it the hardest.
Yeah.
And I know that.
I mean, that's how it's supposed to be.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
You do own the company, but still, you put yourself through that, and I think we all felt it. Like it was just a stressful time.
I got to imagine, like even my parents and Brian, my brother, like I just didn't see anyone.
The amount of times I went and did something and people were like, "Where's Brad?"
Editing.
Working on Super Cat.
It was crazy.
It
honestly.
was one of the first times that I felt like work was forcing me to sacrifice things in personal life. Because when I worked at GM, it was never like that. When I worked at Sensation, you're done at 3:30. I mean, sometimes I'd stay later, but it was never like this. I mean, I just didn't see anybody.
Yeah, and I feel like most of the time, even in this, it's the connection between this and like your personal life and what you enjoy is enough to make it feel like it's all kind of one collective experience. But that this project in particular was such a grind that it just kind of became its own thing.
Yeah.
And it consumed most everything.
And I kept reminding myself, success takes sacrifices. And
Yeah.
I kept saying that to everyone else, whoever was asking me what you were doing. Or if they were like, "Oh, that's a lot of hours that he's working." And it's like, okay, well, success does take sacrifice. And I think that that's true. And it's okay. And it's just temporary. And well, it is. It was temporary. Now it's over for now.
For now. Yeah.
Well, this definitely is an example of the struggle that it was to get this thing done. So why don't we talk a little bit more about that? Why don't we talk about some of the things we struggled through? Personal life, definitely a good example. That inequality that especially you faced for a period of time, it's not easy.
Well, and even for you, I mean, being away, traveling for 4 or 5 days at a time on 5 separate occasions, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Through weekends. Too.
Definitely took a toll. And like normally if we would travel for a weekend, I would have some time when I got back if I needed to get some stuff done or
Yeah,
whatever.
we didn't
And it
even
was
have
just
that.
no, it was just like you get back, you're right into it.
I know. I felt bad about that, but if you weren't helping me, it would have just been way worse for me.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad at any point. I never felt bad about doing that. I just knew it had to be done. Like from the beginning, I was like, this is just what it's going to be like for a period of time. We're just going to work through the weekend. We're going to work when we get back. Like,
And that was
fine.
supposed to be like over when summer was over.
Yeah,
and
that was
it,
the
it
wish.
just got worse.
Yeah, that was that. By the time we hit December and it was still happening, I was like, that's when the fatigue started to hit, because I had like in my mind an end goal, a date that was supposed to happen, and then it kind of just didn't. And like we've reached that point now, which is good. We kind of like it just didn't happen as like suddenly, I think, as I thought it was going to. So when it wasn't addressed and it was just kind of like, oh shit, we're still doing this. That's when it got a little tough.
It just took publishing. It took actually having everything done and wiping your hands clean of it.
Yeah, that was like part of that last bit was, like I was saying, we were experiencing it with you. Like you were really the only one working on it at the end. I was doing some stuff to help you, and so was Katie, like just to get it out the door.
Yeah.
But you were still the only one that was working like 15-hour days to hit this deadline. So even when you got to step away from that, I felt like a weight off my shoulders as well.
You do that though. You carry other people's.
Yeah, I don't mean to, but it definitely happens. But yeah, I mean, so we had personal struggles. We had struggles throughout the project, throughout the shoots. I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me is like every time we would go to a shoot and do these interviews, which like these interviews were very crucial to everything. Like you have to have that narrative. You have to have some base layer, like a spine to your story.
Yeah.
So we would show up every location and we'd have no idea where we were going to do that. So we would be calling hotels, calling libraries, calling town halls, whatever it was, just trying to like get in and see a room that we could potentially use. And this could also be a bit of a mistake in that we did it that way, because we, at the end of the day, ended up just buying stuff to make our own set by the last episode.
Which worked out great.
So much easier.
Yeah.
And so we would have saved a bunch of money if we did that. We would have saved a bunch of time, headache, but like getting to those locations and then worrying about that, we got it done every single time, but we would essentially spend like our first day freaking out about that and then finally be like, okay, we've got a spot.
And like with Ocean City, I tried to call ahead and I tried to find spots, but you can't see the room. You don't know if there's a ton of windows.
That worked out wonderful though
with them
at Ocean City.
Oh yeah, I know. It always worked out.
Yeah.
We always figured it out.
Yeah, and it
we
felt
had to
good.
pay a couple times.
Yeah.
We got it for free 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, Ocean City was free for sure.
Yeah.
That
Got a
was
full auditorium.
yeah, that was the coolest set by far.
Yeah.
And if we had a lot of production money that we could work with, we could book places like that, like whole auditoriums, and it would be cool.
Yeah.
We got lucky with that one.
I mean, it was not necessary at all.
No, but there's like a little like aspect to that walking in, like the black stage
I
and
felt
everything
cool.
like that. Yeah, and the whole black drape backdrop. Like it was nice. It was
It's
cool.
legit.
Yeah, but we got it.
I wonder what
Lucky.
that day rental is.
Dude,
It's probably a lot.
couple grand, I
Yeah,
would say.
thousands,
Yeah,
I'd say.
depending on what they're doing, or if it's like for a chunk of time in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
They were like, this is the only room we have available.
Yeah,
It was their full auditorium.
we'll take it, and it's for free.
Yeah.
Deal.
Thank you, Roderick.
But yeah, that was always a struggle for me, for
Okay.
all of us.
Yeah.
Walking in and not like having that uncertainty, which is part of the job. We've talked about it, but
Yeah.
now that we know how to build the set in like a living room that is very well lit, we can replicate that same thing, no problem.
One of the other things we kind of touched on was how the personal life got paused, but also all the other work that we do got paused. I know, Sensation, one of our bigger clients, like it just wasn't happening. Like there was weeks where it would just, we wouldn't get any content created for them because I was just working on Super Cat. So having clients like that where they understand what we're doing and how we're trying to push ourselves through this project was really crucial, because I wasn't stressing about getting those things out. I knew that they would understand.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was really critical, we would take care of it. But just the day-to-day stuff, like it suffered
Yeah,
for sure.
not being as available as you would
Yeah.
normally be to be like, hey, we're going on a shoot. It's like I literally can't leave the computer.
Yeah.
One of our newer clients, Chantel Hines, she's been really nice and really good about that too. Very understanding. She's busy herself too, so we've been fitting in stuff where we can. And this is more what I've been doing, like in those days while you're editing. Like if I'm not helping you with something, working with her, but definitely an inability to give it as much attention as it will get in the long run, just simply because of this project. Just kind of like spilled into everything every day.
Really did. How did your Myco stuff go? Did that suffer?
No. It flourished. Actually, I got the most views on Myco in the last couple of months than I have the whole time we've been doing it. So did not suffer.
Somehow.
Still crushing
Myco
it.
is, I don't want to say the best client, but to me.
So one of the biggest mistakes that was kind of looming throughout the entire thing was that we did not use contracts. Probably the number one thing that I hear from people that do this kind of work: make sure that you do contracts. Like you're going to get screwed. You're going to get burned at some point if you don't do it. We didn't get burned on this one, but there was times that I thought we were going to get burned financially on this, and it added a huge level of stress. And when you've got that looming over you and you're trying to be creative and edit through that, it is not fun and definitely caused some areas to suffer. The contracts didn't get put in place because there was so much just to do for this 3-person team. It's not an excuse, but it will never happen again. And it gives the teams an understanding of what they're going to get. It gives us an understanding and a sense of confidence that we will get compensated for the work that we're doing. It's really just crucial to have those in place. And I've been notoriously bad at that with clients starting this whole Scrapyard endeavor, and starting to get better at it. So right now, most of our clients are on contracts, and if we do this project again in any form, we will have contracts in place.
Yeah, I definitely saw it start to take a toll when you're trying to do the work at the same time as not understanding whether or not you're going to get paid for that work. That's nearly an impossible thing to do. Like, what's the point at that? If you're not getting paid.
And this project was a third of our company's revenue for the year.
Right.
And contracts are normal. Like businesses use contracts always.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, right. Mistake.
Biggest mistake. Only because it just affected everything else.
Well, yeah, and you think about like the 2 races that got canceled. It's like, well, how do we handle those? Well, if it was in the contract, whether cancellation of a race, like we already call that out. We already know what to do. Now we've got the 2 final races of the National Series canceled. What happens? Like we're expecting to cover teams at those things. Like they're supposed to go into these episodes. Mm-hmm. Well, we figured it out, but it took a toll, and people didn't, they had different expectations of how that was going to go, and it just wasn't clear. Mm-hmm. Like the story didn't suffer, but everything else behind the scenes suffered by not having that.
And that was something that you didn't even really think about, these races being canceled. No. Like that wasn't even something that crossed your mind at all? That could be
I never thought of it.
Yeah, me either.
And we had three races canceled.
The learning there would be spread out maybe a little bit of the races. If it's going to be hurricane season, don't bank on 2 of them that are in that slot.
For sure. But we live in Michigan. We don't experience hurricanes regularly.
Yeah.
Well,
so predicting we don't know. Weather.
Yeah.
Being aware of it, I guess, is really
being
the best
aware
thing
of
you
it,
can do
sure.
is like it might happen.
Yeah.
Just knowing that. Similarly, I don't know if it's a thing that could be built into the contract, but I feel like it wasn't really clear what we needed from the teams, and therefore like it wasn't clear to them what they should be providing to us regularly.
Yeah, I didn't do a good job of communicating that.
And part of it is not knowing how it was going to go, knowing what would be available to us, what we would need. It was kind of hard to understand that until really editing the first episode. I feel like we went through and we scripted it, and then we were like, okay, we are lacking in these areas. At this point, we have all of our B-roll and A-roll that we've gotten for episode 1. And we're writing it out, and we're keeping track of things that we're missing, and then we would go and ask for those things. But like if we knew what those things were from the beginning, like in boat footage, any race footage really.
Yeah.
Footage from the teams, like things that I don't think they really understood what they would be liable for, or like what would make the story better if they were more forthcoming with this stuff. And a lot of it we did end up getting, but it was definitely like on the back end going and trying to get it, not having a guarantee that we would ever get it, or knowing what we would get for that matter. And a lot of times we didn't get what we needed, and we just had to make it work.
And this stuff was all called out at the beginning, but it was just through a conversation. So you're not going to remember. The first conversations were this time last year. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not going to remember that when you're at Key West.
Yeah, like it needs to say somewhere, all GoPros that are in your boat, like we need that. All audio from the races, like you need to be mic'd up for that. Those types of things, because it's crucial to the story. It's not. I can understand what some things they're skeptical on making public, and we've always talked to the teams about that. And if they ever had anything they wanted to pull, we pulled it. Like that was never a problem.
Yeah, every one of the episodes, the teams previewed days in advance of publishing and had the ability to tell us to pull whatever. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're not trying to make them look bad or anything.
No.
We're just trying to use the best stuff that we can to tell the story.
Yeah, make the story as entertaining as it could possibly be.
The onboard cameras were kind of a nightmare.
Like getting them or putting them together to use in the edit? Which one was more of a nightmare?
We got them put together in the edit, like syncing them all. We didn't get footage from some of the teams, so it was just...
Yeah, and sometimes we got it and sometimes we didn't. And the quality was always like, maybe it's going to be okay, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Getting the helicopter footage was huge, and that was something that we didn't have planned. That was a conversation that you had on a whim, and it made it so much better. Without that, I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, who would have known that Parker and his dad were just going to give out the helicopter footage to everyone that wanted it?
Yeah.
Like, what a gift.
Yeah, super generous.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Because without that, I don't even know.
Yeah, I think we would have been okay, but it enhanced it so much.
It would have been okay.
Yeah.
Like that. Think about how many shots you used in the race sequences.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes out of the race sequences. Just
they were the money shots.
Yeah, having
they were
those
just so good.
Having those pulled. The emphasis of the moment in the first episode when the two boats, when Dirty Money and Imcon are right next to each other, that only works because of that shot. Mm-hmm. The shot that he got from the helicopter is the one that makes you like feel the impact of that.
It set up the whole series.
Yeah, like without that shot alone, I don't even know how you would try to like get people to understand just how close they were.
Yeah. Now you need it.
And you're right, totally set the tone for everything else.
But going in, we had nothing in place for that. That we just figured out at the first race. And thankfully, Parker sent it all. Mm-hmm. So
there's a few other, there's a lot of like little ones, a lot of little mistakes, things that, it's one of those mistakes that maybe you make once or twice, and then after you get burned on it enough times, you're like, okay, I'll stop.
Yeah.
Like camera settings, like going out of, we sit in an interview room, you set the white balance to a specific white balance, you walk outside, something's happened, oh shit, we got to go because we didn't know it was going to, what time is it? Or when is that thing? Okay, we got to go right now. Yank the camera off the tripod, go shoot, and everything is the same white balance as it was inside with completely white light. So like little things like that.
I thought of a mistake.
Oh, what do we got? What do we got?
Being unfamiliar with the equipment I was using.
Oh.
So, like using the gimbal. There was a couple of times where I would hit a button on the side of it and the camera would just be straight up. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I'm trying to change it and I couldn't. Like, I'm trying to film and all it is looking right at me. And I'm like,
you're like, this is perfect.
So I missed a lot of shots because I couldn't figure out how to get the gimbal to not face me and to face the other way. And in the moment, you're trying to figure it out, like, while you're trying to film, and it just makes it so much more stressful. So if I would have known how to do that prior to filming, but I don't know if that would have even come up if that wouldn't have happened to me while I was trying to film.
Yeah.
You know,
like that's just part of learning.
Yeah, it just was part of the learning curve.
Yeah. And coming out of that, like, how do you feel with the equipment now?
Oh, so much better. Like, much more confident
Yeah.
in using the gimbal and the tripod even, which sounds so silly, but setting up our tripod and getting it even and like that was stressful too.
I mean, there was so many other mistakes that we still made, but I think we could all agree that we came out of this so much better at what we do for doing this project. Better at editing, better at shooting, better at, finding funding for projects. Like the whole thing just leveled all of us up a ton.
Yeah, one giant learning experience.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is, but this one was big.
Definitely. And I think it's important for people to know that, other filmmakers to know that it wasn't like we just knew how to do everything right from the get. Like this was all a learning experience. Because when you watch the final product, you're like, what? They totally knew how to do everything. And that just wasn't the case.
No.
Some aspect of rolling the dice, I feel like, on all of these. Anytime that, especially a leap like this level of a project versus other stuff, there's going to be unknowns. There's going to be mistakes. We always just make up for it.
And the teams and the people in this industry always wanted something like this. Matt Trulio was telling me that they've been trying to make something like this for, 5 to 10 years. And I just don't think that the right company had come along to be able to produce it. Because if you try to go for like a Netflix or something like that, they're going to look at it and go, well, you don't have the viewership to support this, so we're not going to come make it. And if you try to have the teams or the organizations pay for something like this to be made, you're not going to, it's out of their budget. There's no way that anyone would do it for as cheap as we did it. And with as small of a team as we did it. So I don't think that it could have really happened. Well, it hasn't happened other than us doing this. So I'm glad that we took the chance on it, even though we didn't know exactly everything. We made a ton of mistakes, but we got it done. And we got it done 4 months ahead of what I originally wanted. I wanted to publish this in May, right before the next season started, to get everyone hyped up for it. That's typically the framework for these season following episodes or series.
Like F1 and what's the NHL one called?
I can't remember. But yeah, they all release them right before the season starts to get everyone hyped up for it. Nope. The teams wanted this published before the end of the year so that they could use it to help get sponsorships for their teams. We will not be doing that again. No chance. So many things suffered for that. We didn't even get to go back and do our final interviews with the teams talking about how the whole season went. We just got rushed into getting this thing published. So we did it, but we learned, and if we do this again, that the published date would be in the springtime. It won't be in around Christmas.
Yeah, a lot of our pre-production stuff for the final 2 episodes, it happened before it should have. The first 2, we had pretty much everything that we were going to get from the locations that were in the episodes, so we could lay everything out and be like, okay, how do we use all of this purposefully? How do we make this as good as possible? And then we had time to fill the gaps. So we need to ask this person this question. We didn't get that. Or, we need to have Matt sit down and tell us about this thing. We just did it at the next location. That was a luxury that I didn't realize that we had in those moments until we got into episodes 3 and 4. And it was how are we supposed to working extra hard just to get an idea of what we might need so that we could have Matt fly out here 2 weeks before the episode or a week before the episode was supposed to publish just to give us some stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. When we were doing 1 and 2, you could literally you were making voice notes for yourself of this is the information I need in this spot. And then we just go and get that information.
That's how it should have stayed through the whole thing.
It could have been, I don't want to say so much better, easier at the very least, and better if we had that luxury, which I did not realize was a luxury.
Yeah, it definitely makes me think the next one that we do is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, for many reasons.
Yeah.
From all of the learnings, everything that we've taken away from this one, it will be better and it will be easier. It'll still be hard. It's still going to be a challenge, especially if we take it into a new, into a new segment or something, or if we cover a different type of sport. We're going to face a bunch of different challenges, but these ones, I feel they're easily fixable, and it's just going to make it everything else easier
Yeah.
and better. Easier and better. I just keep saying those two words, but that's the aim, right? That's the goal.
So I was saying at the beginning, the two camps that are watching this stuff, our podcast, are people that are making content and people that are in the boat industry for the most part, family and friends, kind of across both of those. I want to talk a little bit about what kind of gear we used so that people have an understanding of like what kind of investment it took to produce this. So that would be like our cameras, our lighting, our audio equipment, like all that type of stuff. So if you're not into that, you can skip this part, but we always love talking about this stuff. So let's go into it with cameras. I mean, similar to what we're using right now to film this, we've got 3 FX3s.
Yeah, the third one came this year.
For this project.
For me.
Yes.
Yeah, because we had 3 teams. We needed to have 3 people, one with each team.
Easier and better. Again,
Yeah.
like easier to color grade and shoot on 3 of the same cameras versus trying to use like the A7 III or the A7 IV. It's still a good camera. It's just easier and better to use the same 3 for everything. Same
And we
less.
didn't get that camera until after Ocean City. So it wasn't like we just bought that right at the beginning.
Yeah, no, we knew we needed it.
Yeah, it was learned that we needed another one.
Yep. So that camera with the memory cards, and we bought a second 24-70 Sigma lens.
Probably could use 3, honestly.
Yeah, we could use 3, but we didn't get a third one. And like that one investment was $6,000, $7,000 right there. And we did that with another shotgun mic for the second FX3. So we were kind of picking things up as we went that we knew we needed after the first couple.
Yeah, for sure. Like crucial things where we'd come away from a location and be like, we gotta up this, or we gotta get 2 of these or whatever. You felt the irritation in the moment to be like, okay, we gotta fix this.
Pretty much everything was shot handheld. Katie used a gimbal for a decent amount of B-roll.
Yeah, my handheld is
You're too shaky.
pretty much useless.
We just got to find the right setup for it, because like I'll look at certain, say I'm using the 70-200 and I'd hardly use my own stuff.
Yeah.
Like unless I need the strap and I need to be putting weight against my body. Otherwise, like I have so many of these like little adjustments, these little shakes that I steer away from using my own. If I can somehow, like I've talked to Brad about potentially buying new stuff for a rig for me too.
What
Like
about that back sack?
Yeah, yeah, it's like a saddle basically for your shoulders, and you put your camera on it.
I've seen that.
Like a beanbag.
Yeah.
I think that there are options out there. Like to say that you can't do it, it just means that you can't do it like how Brad generally
Yes,
shoots
I
his
can't do
handheld,
it
because
how
that's
Brad
that's
does
how
it.
we've learned. That's how both of us have learned. It's just
Yeah.
like watching you, and eventually you're going to get your own opinion. And if the opinion is I can't do this, then it really is probably more like this specific setup is not working for me.
Yeah,
And so
I agree with that.
I started Googling stuff because I'm like, I can't. I was tired of not being able to use my own long lens footage because I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. But they make
I like
stuff.
the gimbal though.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a variety, like to have some smooth shots.
Yeah.
But it's difficult when you're filming one team and all the footage of that team is on a gimbal, and then we're filming the other 2
And they're on
teams and they're all handheld.
I can see, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only challenge with
Gotcha.
that. If you were with one of us, it would complement it great.
I see what you're saying, for sure.
Yeah. And like you were saying with the 70-200 handheld, like it's kind of tough there. That's my bread and butter. I like using the 70-200 way more than the 24-70.
Yeah, I just don't like it because I don't like how my footage looks after trying to like hold it just with my hands.
Yeah.
You
If
must
I-
have really stable hands.
I don't know. It works good.
Practice. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah,
it be
practice.
forearm strength? Like
It could be.
there's just a lot that's built into it.
Yeah. All the golf I've played over the years.
Yeah, like I want to use this, but I want to make it easier for myself. I don't want to go work out my forearms in order to be able to shoot this effectively. I want to get whatever gear it is
We
that I
have
know
one of
exists.
those. Forearm strength.
Yeah, I put it on my desk. I never use it.
There's this one dude that I don't know. He's a producer, or a filmmaker, or something like that, and he's just jacked. And his whole thing is like, you don't need gimbals. You need to go to the gym.
Yeah,
and
you need
he's
to
just like
hold the
this
camera.
ripped guy with this little camera.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, essentially, there's 2 schools of thought there.
Yeah.
It'd be like you could figure out a way, or you can just get jacked.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm by no means jacked, but my forearm strength is pretty good.
All right, so what other gear? We used, we didn't really use our own GoPros. We used a lot of GoPro footage from the teams, though. I would say most of the cockpit stuff was GoPro footage.
We used the Insta360 X4 a little bit. I tried to use that quite a bit at Marathon, and it's kind of hard to pair that with the other footage.
Yeah, it's not.
It's kind of gimmicky.
Yeah, or like it. Well, I don't want to offend anybody that uses it to call it gimmicky, but like because we use it also too.
I love it.
It's not cinematic. It's not cinematic like the FX3 stuff.
Well,
is.
you can't pick the settings really, so it's like your aperture is just f100 the whole time. Everything's in focus.
Yeah.
But it would have worked nice if we could have got that inside of a cockpit.
If you're showing race footage like that, it's okay for it to have less quality because
Yeah.
people are understanding you can't just put a nice camera inside of a boat.
Well, all the GoPros that MCon used were all 1080p GoPros. So we exported and uploaded it at 4K. So it looks worse for all the cockpit footage. But I don't know if people care, like you said.
No, I don't think so.
It's just that's the look. That's what you expect to see. You're just happy to see anything inside that boat.
Yeah, until there's anything better, like that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I just saw someone post a comment. I think it was Greg Harris, and he said that those were his favorite clips.
The
GoPro
inside,
shots. He said that you need to make a separate video of just those GoPro shots.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we could just export the race footage timeline, but
Yeah, but see then
yeah, we're
things
not
are
gonna do
said.
that. Yeah.
Things are said in these boats that they probably don't want to be public
Correct.
about the boats.
Yeah, about what they're doing, their strategy. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever it is, like it's not supposed to be public. So we're thankful that they even trust us enough to use that footage, but we wouldn't post the whole thing. That would no.
And they trust us. They know what our objective is. And honestly, I don't even think they knew really to begin with. They had an idea, but it wasn't until after we got the first episode done that they started to become a lot more forthcoming with stuff.
For sure.
It was just like here's an example. This is what we want to make. We want to make more of this. And they're like, okay, now we get it.
I think Tyler knew what we were capable of doing because we've worked with him so much in the past, but the other two teams, it was new. We didn't know them at all. So they kind of took a leap of faith on us to produce this. And like you said, when that first one came out, they understood what they were going to get, and they liked it, and they opened up to us more, started to give us more footage, started to show up to the interviews like without us having to beg them to come. And it was just a way more enjoyable experience. And I think that's going to happen into next season where the teams that we do work with will be able to reference this. They'll understand what it takes, and I think they'll just be more forthcoming with everything.
Yeah, that might be one of those things that we couldn't have done any better, but now we can because we have this thing.
Yeah.
Now we have the example set to be like, this is what we'll make.
Yeah.
We didn't have that before. Yeah. We could say we want to make something like this other thing, but that doesn't mean quite as much.
Back to the gear, though. I mean, what were some of the other things? I mean, we took lighting equipment, which is always a pain to drag that around the country, but
Yeah.
2 Aperture 120Ds with a light dome. That was our key light. And then we kind of went back and forth on our fill light from an actual 120D to just a reflector. The reflector I thought worked a lot better.
Yeah, it was pretty much
Pretty soft.
well. That was the reality of going into an interview set and it being different every single time. Like the size of the room was different, the backdrop was different,
Yep.
the lighting outside, the windows, the number of windows in the room, everything was constantly different.
How much cardboard did we buy?
I don't know if you guys did buy some boxes in Key
Yeah,
West,
I think I bought 10 boxes.
The first time we did it, they just gave us extra cardboard. So the first time we did this, we were in a hotel conference room, which is what
In
we
Marathon.
did like 2 or 3 other times. And there were emergency lights in the room that could not turn off. So we just duct taped cardboard to the lights and covered the windows in sheets, I think.
No, they had the curtains on it, but we pushed tables up against them so that
we had
no
to
light
shove
would,
everything
Yeah.
up against the window. It was not great. I was very afraid of burning down that hotel because the lights, I mean, they weren't that hot, but I'm like cardboard up
Yeah.
against a light bulb. So we took them down every night. But we also took a little paint with it.
They didn't.
Whoops.
They didn't notice.
I think it's been long enough, right? I don't think anybody at that hotel is going to be listening to this. But if we get a bill in the mail, we'll know why. But yeah, everything was so different that you had to take everything and kind of figure it out. It mostly came back to setting up the cameras, testing the cameras, taking some clips, putting the LUTs on it.
Yeah, a couple hours of that, I'd say.
Yeah.
Tweaking things, putting it into Premiere, color grading it. Okay, it didn't work. What are we going to do different? Start over.
Yeah, that was part of why it was so stressful finding the place, because it was like you find the place, then you have to do all of that.
Yeah.
If we bring our set with us now, like if we want to replicate that and we know what we have to do, we can do that pretty easily. We know we got to stop and get cardboard boxes on the way to wherever we're staying, and we have the sheets and everything and the clamps and all that.
Yeah.
So like we can get right to it.
We probably need a couple C-stands, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we just luckily had that framework in
That's
the
true.
wall.
Yeah, you can't leave it up to
You
luck.
can't just like hang black sheets on
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, it's funny. I say you can't leave it up to luck, but that's essentially what we did at every interview site.
Everyone.
Like not knowing where we were going to go, how much it was going to cost.
But we do know when we book a place to stay what we need. So maybe I'm looking for an Airbnb that has that same shelving system.
Yeah, looking for the molding to be the same.
Yeah.
I would say look for one with less windows, maybe.
Which is so opposite of what we want personally.
I don't know. I mean, we can find a random room too. We don't have to use the living room.
Yeah. It's just there's not usually random rooms in Airbnbs. They're like 4 bunk beds.
Yeah. Shooting room, staging room for filming.
Yeah.
So we used random light equipment depending on where we were.
On the back end, we use all Apple computers, Premiere Pro for all of our editing, and we have a 100 terabyte server that hosts everything. That runs 10 GBE to up to 3 computers, which works great for us. So it's for big projects with a lot of data. I think it's the best solution that exists for that. But we did at the beginning, I think it was at the beginning of this year, in preparation for this, had to purchase a new NAS. And I mean, you're looking at 15, 20 grand for that whole thing. And that was, I mean, we'll use it for other things, but we wouldn't have been able to do this project without that.
Yeah. Essentially everything had to get upgraded.
Everything. Yeah.
It's
And now next year, if we do it again, we need another human. Like we've got the gear figured out. Now we need more people to help us.
Yeah.
We need more editing. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this whole thing again.
It's funny, like we're just talking about basically growth of business right now.
Yeah.
Like we're living in it. There's no surprise here. Like as a business grows, you get more equipment, you get more overhead, you get more people, but this is just like we're experiencing it in the moment of like, shit, we got to hire somebody else.
Yep.
Or like, oh, we need another camera.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is what continues to happen.
Yeah.
This is just slow growth.
I haven't really put it out there yet, but if anyone's interested in working with us, next year we are going to be looking to expand the team. So if you're good at using a camera and making content, that's where we're kind of looking to get somebody in.
And we're open to not living in Michigan, right? Like it could be anywhere.
We'll all move to you.
No. But if you do live in Michigan by us, this could potentially be your office with Bobby.
Yeah, you can. I'll share it.
Don't do them like that.
I just found my own room. And I
Sorry.
get a partner in here.
No,
you
we'll
know
put them
what?
next to the furnace.
All right, we got another room, yeah.
As long as your taste in music is okay, I think we'll be fine. And you wear deodorant. That's my 2 stipulations.
Are you saying something?
Yeah, that's why I left the room. That's. I didn't know you were gonna throw that out there, so that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it's been on my mind. It has been on my mind, and we've been talking about it. And definitely, if we're gonna do this again next year, and maybe do this in conjunction with other big projects, we're gonna need some more help.
Yeah,
And not to say that we didn't get help this year. We got so much help from everybody this year. All of our friends that work for the individual race teams and boat manufacturers and dealerships and stuff, like we really appreciate all the help that you guys gave us, sending us footage, getting shots when we can't be at certain places. Like, this was a true team effort, and it wasn't just us three. It went out to 10, 15 different people. And I tried to get everybody in the credits that helped with the filming, but if I did miss you, I apologize. Really thankful for all the friends that we've made that help us and work in this space.
Yeah.
Which has been great for the collaboration versus competition. Like, I feel like that's something that you really believe in, is collaborating over competing with these other filmmakers.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was talking to Riley at Performance Boat Center last night, and he just was struggling with getting the engine noise on outboard engines recorded. We've been there, right? We've tried so many different things. And Brevin was working for Mercury Racing a couple of years ago and sent me his sound effects pack of all of the engine noises. And I'm just like, Riley, I got this pack. Like, here, take it, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we can figure out how to record audio better together. Like, we spitballed on some ideas, but there has never for a minute been like a competition mindset around filmmaking. It just doesn't make any sense
And
to
I
me.
think people feel that with Scrapyard in particular, that we aren't trying to be competitive. We are willing to collaborate with whomever.
I get that out on Tuesday nights when I go play hockey.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah, or ping pong.
Oof. Well,
Yeah.
it's not looking good for me. But
Good.
That's where I blow my steam off. The amount of work that went into this project behind the scenes from other people, just being available, really.
Yeah.
You know, if we have something that we needed and we felt comfortable asking for it, and most of the time, if they had it, we got it.
Yep.
And it was just, it would have been nearly impossible without that.
Well, I mean, we can't go around all the boats and turn on all the GoPros. There's no way. So, at minimum, that we have to have.
Thanks again.
Just to kind of wrap up the Super Cat conversation for today, what did you guys think was like your overall takeaway of this? You know, did you like doing it? Are you excited for the next one? What's your thoughts?
I would say I am happy that it's done. I am happy with the way it turned out. I'm happy to have done it, and I'm excited to take everything that we've learned from the experience and then repurpose it into the next one and watch how that makes it easier. Because while I say I'm happy in summary of all of these things, there were obviously times that were very stressful and hard. And some of that is exciting. You know, that's kind of a stipulation of this job, is you have to be okay with that, and you have to be up to the challenge and enjoy that feeling that you get once you've accomplished it. But there are certain things that were hard that didn't necessarily need to be hard. So I'm excited to fix those things and then find some new stuff that's going to be hard next time and then fix that the next time around. So overall, glad you pitched the project. Glad it worked out with you and with Matt and Jason, and it all happened. And I think it's going to be big for us, for the company.
What about you, Katie?
Yeah, I think that there was definitely moments, probably like right when you were in the midst of editing all the time, where I was like, ugh, I don't know if I want this to happen again. Like, I don't personally, I don't think it was wouldn't work if it continued to do the same, if we continue to do it the same way we did it this year. But now that we're out of it and you're back to having more of a work-life balance, I'm like, yeah, that was really cool.
It's so
I
easy
liked
to do
that. That was a great project. So, but I think something that I really was inspired by this project, by you and Bobby, and was that you can do something that you don't have it all figured out right from the get. Like, you can have this big idea and you can pursue it without having everything figured out. And I think that that's something that I personally struggle with, is I think, I have to have this all figured out in order for me to do whatever it is that I want to do. And I think that I learned from you guys is that you don't have to have it all figured out, that you just can learn as you go and you will figure it out, and you can still complete that big goal without having it all figured out at the beginning.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you.
Faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And then just fake it until you make it, basically.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
How about you? How do you feel about all of this?
Yeah.
Well, like you said, I'm glad that it's done. I'm glad that it exists, because it's something that I've wanted to exist for a long time. I feel like this sport just doesn't it doesn't do the fans justice. It's hard to watch in person, and the content that exists online is just mediocre at best. And not to say that this was way better than mediocre, but it's different, and it focused more on the people behind these boats rather than like the engines and the boats. So I think it gave people a better insight to the sport and the people that are behind it. And taking that approach, now that we did it, I want to move that into other areas, like outside of boating, really. I mean, we're starting to work with snowcross and see what comes with that. I think it'd be cool to do some mainstream sports. I know you love volleyball. I love hockey, like stuff like that. So I think it's going to take Scrapyard to a new level and push us in a direction that I think is the best form of storytelling. And that's what we're all about, is we want to be able to tell stories. We want to be able to inspire people. And I'm excited for us to have this and to be able to show other people this, to show them what we're capable of. And maybe it leads to some opportunities that we never thought were even possible. But we'll go back to the don't know how to do this and figure it out as we go type approach.
That same faith that you might have in yourself to take a risk and do something, even if you don't know how to do it, and you'll figure it out. That exists in everything that we do, and everything that we've done up to this point has just yielded positive results. And some of it does require effort in going out and finding it and stuff like that. But I think there is a significant portion of it that just comes from making stuff that you like and just doing your best, doing the best that you can when you're doing it and putting it out there, and people respond.
All right. Well, we're going to be back next time on Table Scraps with a couple guests, and we're going to talk with them about Super Cat and video projects and whatnot. We'll try to be a little bit better at getting these out now that we have some time. But thanks for listening. And if we missed anything or you got any questions, just drop a comment below.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.